Yesterday, I published a video with the intention of giving people a sense of where they stand vis-a-vis their landlord or their mortgage company. And the takeaway, or at least my intention, was to give you the idea that for the time being, you're good. You're not going to lose your home through an eviction or foreclosure. It's not possible at the moment. But that's fine. That's great. So, let's say for the next 6 to 8 weeks, you can kind of hunker down and be all right, not worry about the sheriff showing up and chucking you out the door. But 6 to 8 weeks is not that long a time. And so you're probably thinking to yourself, or you may be thinking to yourself, all right, so then what? When things start getting going and I'm still behind the eight ball as far as trying to make a rent or a mortgage payment, then what? So I want to talk a little bit about the CARES Act here, and I'm not going to spend a half hour on each and every provision because that would be super boring, and I don't really want to spend a half hour talking. So what I want to talk about is specifically expanded unemployment. So forget what you knew about unemployment before the CARES Act was enacted, because the CARES Act is essentially, and this is not my term, they're calling it unemployment on steroids. So basically, the federal government has expanded unemployment with the intention of it covering just about anyone whose income has been affected by COVID-19. So what does that mean? So the first thing is to figure out who's eligible. And, well, it's hard to say with any specificity because the way it works is that although the federal government passed this law, unemployment is implemented by the individual states. And so they've got some guidelines, the states do, and they know how much money about how much money they're going to be getting from the federal government to implement the CARES Act, but they don't have the procedures and they don't have the rules in place. But it's important to note that even if you are freelance, even if you are self-employed, basically, if your income was reduced in any meaningful way due to COVID-19, you're going to be eligible. Illinois is still working on the rules here, so don't call them up. Don't go on the website assuming you're going to find information about that because it's not available yet. They're still working on it. The unemployment agencies have been completely inundated with claims. They've experienced about a 10x on the load of unemployment claims the last week. So normally they get 200,000 to 300,000 in a week. Last week, approximately 3.28 million unemployment claims were filed. They got a lot of work to do to work through these things. But let's talk about specifically what you can expect once you apply and get your unemployment claim approved. So in Illinois, and I'm using Illinois specifically because most of you are Illinois people, you can expect to get roughly up to 47% of your average weekly wage, capped at $471. All right, that's the state benefit. On top of that, under CARES, you're going to get an additional $600 from the federal government. So, I don't want to assume anything about anyone's financial situation because, it's $1,100 a week or whatever your benefit ends up being. It may or may not be enough, but it certainly is a lot more than the barely anything you get under normal times with unemployment. You also, in addition to the 26 weeks of state unemployment, they've expanded it to give you another 13 weeks in addition under CARES. So, the takeaway is that the intention is for unemployment to replace the lost income for not only people who are traditionally eligible for unemployment, but just about all of us who are earning money for the work that we do. So my recommendation for you as we move forward in these really strange times we live in is to get your unemployment application in as soon as possible. I reckon they're handling these things on a first come, first served basis. As soon as you think that you are potentially eligible, get that claim in. You can Google the Illinois Department of Employment Security has information about this, and as things progress, they're still making the rules, as I mentioned. And as they get these rules in place, there will be more information, and I may have to supplement this video once that happens. But in the meantime, get those claims in so that it can get processed. You get in line to get processed. They're so inundated that they've limited the days on which you can apply for unemployment. So if your last name starts with an A through M, you get Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. If you're N through Z, you get Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Saturday is a free-for-all. So, my recommendation, look, at the end of the day, if you're a landlord and your tenant comes to you and says, I can't make a payment, don't panic, number one. Number two, unfortunately, you have almost no leverage because there's no place to go to get your tenant thrown out for not paying rent. So in this unprecedented time we're living in, or at least unprecedented for those of us who weren't alive during the Spanish flu of 1918, 1919, you're going to have to adjust your thinking. Okay, so you can either yell at the tenant who is still not going to pay you and both of you have a bad day, or you can say to your tenant, look, I get it. Let's work together to see how we can figure out that I'm not going to get screwed not being able to pay my mortgage, and you can stay as current as possible on your rent. Let them know that unemployment is expanded in an unprecedented way and that they're almost certainly eligible. Direct them to these resources. Not everyone, the reason I'm even doing this is that although all this information is available with a simple Google, not everyone finds it to be all that accessible. So help them help you. Lead the horse to water and let them know that these benefits are available to them. And there's no shame in applying for this help. I mean, the point is to keep everyone safe and alive until this thing passes. So help them understand how they're going to do that without falling behind on their bills, and so that you can not have trouble with your mortgage obligation. And three, talk to your lender. Even if you've got the available cash reserves to make a mortgage payment, if your tenant's not paying their rent, I think it makes a lot of sense to see what types of relief are available from your lender. And so reach out to them as soon as possible, like I said yesterday, and see if they can help on their end. So you're not helpless as a landlord if your tenant says, I can't pay. You've got some arrows in your quiver, just not the ones you're used to, not the 5-day notice and kick them out. It's, you're going to have to be a little bit more, you have to use a little more finesse. Not every situation requires the hammer. This one requires a little bit more thinking and finesse. So in any event, if whatever situation you find yourself in, if you find yourself unable to pay rent, having trouble with the mortgage company, let me know in the comments what your landlords are doing or what your mortgage companies are doing with respect to your these housing obligations that we all have. I'm just curious to see out there who is doing what, and just kind of get a better sense of how this thing continues to evolve. So leave me some comments, and obviously call, email, let me know what it is I can do to help you. and I'll see y'all tomorrow or whenever the next bit of information comes out that I feel it worth telling y'all about.